Hi, I'm Charlie Starr. The video you are about to watch is part of my free course, How to Read a Birth Chart. And now, back to this video. Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Trinity of Soul, which includes the 4th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house. And that will conclude all of our video lectures about the houses. And at the end of this video, you guys will know the significations of every single house. Hope you have your flashcards ready. So first, a little premise. The Trinity of Soul is what Howard Sasportas, author of The 12 Houses, calls this. Before I knew that this had a name, I just noticed this connection between these three houses, and I called it the hidden houses or the deeply personal houses. So the thing that ties all these houses together is that everything that happens in these houses is behind closed doors. It's kind of like everything that is below the surface, that's deeply intense, deeply personal, deeply hidden, but it's where all the major changes take place. So that's kind of what ties all of these houses together, is that theme. And these are really pivotal metamorphic experiences that we have. They are very soulful, so I see why they're called the Trinity of Soul. These are houses that connect us deeply to our past, to who we really are on a deep, deep metaphysical level. So that is definitely a potential that these houses have. Without further ado, let's get into it, starting with the 4th house. The 4th house is generally on the cusp of or includes the IC, and the signification is similar. This is talking about our origin, where we come from. This is going to include our genetic lineage, our ancestry, our past lives, and our family of origin, including the mother, sometimes including the father, and any adult figure that created a home for us, that was there for us. And what was our home like? What was our living situation like growing up? And likewise, what is our home like in adulthood? The home is supposed to be a personal space, right? They talk about work-life balance. The life part is supposed to be when you're at home living your personal life, right? So the home is supposed to be a safe place. It's supposed to be a place that reflects you, a place that supports you, a place that nourishes you, that base that you're supposed to be able to come back to let your guard down, relax, and rejuvenate yourself, to eat, to sleep. Like, what does this place like? And going back to this place of safety in your life, in adulthood, sometimes having to go back and revisit childhood, going backwards, going deep into our roots, looking at the history of things, the history of our personal lives. That is all 4th house topics. So you can see how this is connected to the soul, because there can be karma here. There can be soul ties here. There can be deep issues connected to our parents here at this point. There's messages that can come in from your ancestors, generational trauma, generational gifts, generational support. All of these things are 4th house topics. This is also your real estate and your home into adulthood. So of course, this is the place where we do most of our personal processing. Okay. Second in the Trinity of Soul, we have the 8th house. All right, the 8th house is, if you thought the 4th house was sticky, wait till you meet the 8th house. I call the 8th house the house of secrets, or the house of the closet, or the house behind closed doors. Though, like I said, all three of these houses can be considered private, personal, behind closed doors things. But the 8th house is also considered the house of shared resources. So it comes right after, in the house order, it comes right after the 7th house, which is the significant others. And the 8th house is this crux where we get messy with another person, and the blurred lines between their resources and our resources can get muddled up because, like, say you're living with somebody, you're sharing meals with somebody, you are sharing resources with them, right? Like, and how you deal with that topic and how you deal with the you versus me melding together is 8th house. This is also in contrast to the 2nd house. The 2nd house is going to be your own personal resources, right? So the 2nd house is in contrast to the 8th house, which is the shared resources. In the 2nd house, things can be a little simple because it's just you. In the 8th house, things are more complicated. And when things get complicated, that is a catalyst for change. The 8th house is like a metamorphic turning point in our lives where we come, like, we mesh our lives with somebody else and things get sticky and things get messy, and things that worked just fine when we were alone get exposed for the problems that they actually are, right? You may be functioning with your problems, coping with your problems by yourself, and then you involve another human being, and yeah, those things get brought up to the surface, and vice versa. So in the 8th house, this is like a turning point in your life where things change can be because of getting close to other people, but it also can be because of death. This is one of the houses that's considered a house of death as well, because this can be physical death, and this can also be like a metaphorical death is what I was trying to say. So this is where things that are no longer working get stripped away from us, things that are not going to be carried along with us into the next chapter of our lives, the next leg of our journey. This stuff gets taken away, and that is often painful. It's often messy. We generally don't know what is coming and what is going at the time. And so these things are painful, and we try to keep them private, and we try to keep them contained away from the public eye. We will, close the door when we're fighting with our partner so that the kids don't hear, so that the neighbors don't hear, right? That's all 8th house stuff. And the 8th house is also going to be any sort of shared resources. So this is going to be not just stuff you share with your partner, but it's going to be stuff you share with other people. So this is other people's money, that you may be responsible for other people's money. This may be inheritance. This may be student loans. This may be tax returns. So when our money is kind of ours but not really ours, like government distribution, it's like our tax money, but it's coming back to us. It's ours, but it's not really ours. It's kind of like a shared resource sort of topic that is also 8th house stuff. And sometimes those things can be very life-changing. They can really, really be a catalyst for new opportunities and new directions in our life, right? So that is all 8th house stuff. I will say that I've also seen affairs, marital secrets in this house, and also other people's death. In Hellenistic astrology, they argue that this is the house that you die in, and I disagree, because when you look at the wheel, and I've also been paying attention to this in different people's transits that I know who have died themselves or who have had somebody significant in their life die, which I'm unfortunately quite familiar with. That the 12th house is the house that is indicating your death, because it is your exit to the world. It's your 12th house, which we'll get to the 12th house in a minute, but the 8th house is along the way. So it's not going to end you, but the ending of somebody else is going to be a major turning point for you. The traditional sign here is Scorpio, and Scorpio is the sign of healing from wounds. So when you are wounded, you heal, but you are never the same again. There's always something different. That experience changed you permanently. You have gone through a metamorphosis. You have gone into the cocoon. You have turned into goo. Sure, that's a death of some type, but you're reemerging as a butterfly. Okay, you're reemerging as the Sagittarius, the phoenix from the ashes. Okay, so that is what the 8th house generally is. but it can include the actual death of other people, because that can be a major changing point for us. All right, so then we get to the last house is going to be a house of endings, a house of loss, a house of death. This house is associated with prisons, hospitals, graveyards, death stuff, loss. You know, this is major endings. This is final endings. Yes, that can include your own death. Other things though, the private moment where the entire world is out there, and in the 12th house, you're alone behind that closed door. You're alone in your room, you've closed out the rest of the world. That's the 12th house. Now in the 8th house, you've closed the door, but it's you and somebody else in that room. Do you see the difference? With the 12th house, you're closing the door, but you're the only one in the room. The only door in front of you is a door you've never walked through before. It can be the door to another world. And that other world may be a whole different chapter in your life of which you are still in. Or it can be going into the light and going into another world. So because of that, this is a house that includes dreams. When you dream, you go to dream alone, but you go into another world. So this house is associated with dreams and dream symbols and dream messages. For that reason, because the veil is thin here, because this is where the reality that we've currently experienced is dissolving away, it's fading away. This is also a house where we can communicate well and receive well from our higher self, our spirit guides, our allies, angels, God, etc. Helping and harming spirits from the other side. These are things that are more reachable in the 12th house, either because we're alone or because we're in a trance or because we're asleep. This is 12th house stuff, okay? The 12th house also indicates mental health. It is very psychological, because a lot of the time when we're alone, we think, our thoughts race. Where do those thoughts take us? That's all 12th house stuff. Okay, one last thing that I wanted to share about the 12th house is that the 12th house is also a house of giving up. And because it's a house of giving up, it's a house of sacrifice. Things get lost in the 12th house, and sometimes the things that gets lost in the 12th house is yourself. So if you have significations in the 12th house, like for example, if your sun is in the 12th, a lot of the time they feel unseen, they feel like nobody really understands them, they might be very secretive or very private people, they might have a lot of secrets. But the other thing too is that a lot of the time they sacrifice huge chunks of themselves for other people. So a lot of the time, if you have your sun in the 12th, you're going to be learning a lot about sacrifice. Okay, and that wraps up the Trinity of Soul, ending with the 12th house. And now that we're done with the houses, soon, right after this, we'll be learning about the aspects. The aspects are so important because the aspects tell us about the relationship between the houses, the relationship between planets in our own birth chart, and also the relationships between us and other people, and also between us and events that are happening in our lives right now. So really exciting to be able to share these aspects with you. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.